With one show to go at Virginia Beach, the rate of attrition has shown its cold face in the cold, rainy weather. But as the sun comes out and the beachfront warms, the monsters battling on the mid-Atlantic coast are primed for one last-minute lunge for the cup. Temperatures in the low 70s, a little cool breeze in the air, and that means conditions are finally perfect for Monsters on the Beach. But it's round 4 of 4 here on Sunday afternoon. The warm temperatures, however, though, means the fans have come out in droves. The first time all weekend it hasn't been raining and the wind has not been blowing up something fierce off of the Mid-Atlantic Ocean front as we get into the final round of the 2024 edition of Monsters on the Beach presented by Pungo Off-Road. And of course, the attrition rate is always high with this Monster Marathon. Everybody on this facility this weekend spent all of last night on the boardwalk repairing parts. And of course, this team right here, one of the most consistent teams in motorsports, the Warp Motorsports team, was no exception. There you see Cliff Val and Tim Jones taking a look down inside the front housing of the Toxic machine driven by Preston Perez. He had a rough landing last night that ended with him blowing out a front diff. And there you see getting pulled off Steve Sims and Stone Crusher. You saw Jerry Beck as well. And Cliff Val, who was checking out Toxic, well, he was out of that event. He ended up wrapping up repairs late last night that you see he started late yesterday afternoon after event number 2 when he blew out his front diff, but he will be in the action here today. In fact, all of our machines and all of our teams were able to effect repairs and get things back underway as Pungo Off-Road and Eastern Truck and Accessories present the 25th anniversary edition of Monsters on the Beach, again under nearly perfect weather here today. And of course, if you didn't see our previous editions and you've never been here before, the tough trucks always come out in force. And again, like always, if they're any indication of the action that we're going to see later on from the biggest machines in motorsports, it is going to be an absolute battle in the air. There you see the big white Bronco crossing the finish line with a top-end charge that would make Al Cowlings proud as they wrapped up their qualifying sessions, thrilling the crowd. Now, nobody ended up on their top today. You're wondering what I'm talking about. Check out session number 3, or round number 3 from here this weekend. Last night, one of these trucks ended up taking a wild ride on the final jump. But the tough trucks are just part of the program. When we come back, we get things underway with the big boys. The Monsters take to the sand for the final time here at Monsters on the Beach 2024 in the chase for the George Carpenter Cup.
This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube. This program is brought to you by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. your high-performance fix on the go.
Welcome back to the Mid-Atlantic Ocean front here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Lots of massive vessels on and off the coastline, but the big machines we're looking at here this afternoon are the monster trucks. Scott Heaton getting the crowd pumped up for this final run here in 2024. As I said, this is the 25th anniversary of this event that started back in 1997. Here's a look at the points rolling in to this final day of action. There's two guys sitting on top of this thing right now, Blockhead and Bad Company, who look like shoo-ins. One of them a shoo-in for the championship. Now, that being said, Illuminator, Maximus, Stone Crusher, all battling down there in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions. You see, they're very close to each other, but so is Toxic within striking distance. And just because they're in double digits, do not count out Tailgater or Hooked. Dirt Crew, Jerry Beck, going to try to make a last-minute lunge here this afternoon. So look for something big from Dirt Crew. Remember, though, we only bring 8 trucks into each show this weekend, so there are a couple of trucks that will not be making an appearance, but they may make an appearance if the alternates have to be drawn back in. Now, the wind has picked up a little bit, but it's only blowing a little bit of cool breeze in, no rain. There's a little storm way out off the coast, but it doesn't look like it's threatening to turn inland, at least not right now, as our first pair comes up for round 1 of side-by-side monster truck racing, and a guy who needs to get this win worse than anything right now, Darren Basil in Blockhead, part of the DCT Power Sports crew, battling one of the Homestate Hero trucks, Hooked, and being piloted this weekend by Frank Krimmel out of Detroit, Michigan, a legend of monster truck racing. He's been around for quite a while, has worked for and driven for some of the best. Let's see what he has here against Basil, who is looking to take this thing home, needs to get a win here to stay out on John Gordon. Basil looking good on that one. A little out of shape and shut down, but there's plenty of room to get it woed down there. The only thing the right lane has really got to worry about when they start getting out of shape is there is a jump down there for freestyle. They actually dug out a little shelf just off of the shoreline there, and they can come up from the water, hit that and jump. If you get off that sideways, you might roll on over, hopefully not into the ocean, but a couple guys have made it down to the water coming off of the end of the racing lanes earlier this weekend. Now, a pair of DCT Power Sports machines doing battle here in Heat 2 of round number 1. There you see Jack Brown and Maximus against the former champ. I'm going to call him the former champ. He came in as the defending champ. That's Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew. This team out of the Hoosier State. Jerry Beck doing what he needs to do to try to upset the balance in the lower half of the field. He'd love to be able to say he jumped out of the number 9 position and jumped back into the top 5. It'd be a tall order for him, but as long as he turns the fans on here today, he's going to go out of here a very happy man, although this has been a very tough weekend for him. They blew a motor on night 1, and it seemed like their problems just got worse as the weekend went on. He finally was able to really make a showing here. Last night seemed to be the best of his showings, even though he did have to be towed back up to the boardwalk after all of it. He did seem to kind of gather that strength, so we know that he's going to give the fans a show. Now another battle of teammates. The team out of the Old Line State. There you see Corey Snyder out of Pigtown, Maryland, in the Illuminator, taking on the man who now calls Frederick, Maryland home by way of Spokane, Washington, that being Preston Perez in Toxic. Pair of Fords, the heavyweight on the ocean side, the lighter weight PEI here on the land side, and Snyder has not been able to get past his teammate all weekend long. Will this be his opportunity? Kind of got the jump there. Good race into the second no man's land, but Perez with so much top-end speed. Corey Snyder always says that Toxic truck is one of the peppiest trucks out here, and really was a learning curve when he jumped inside of the TMS chassis that he's piloting. Originally ran that truck as Toxic 2.0. Now, though, alongside the vehicle he formerly drove, trying to keep up with it. And one of the top drivers in the business today, that being Preston Perez in Toxic. Again, out of Spokane, Washington, moved all the way to the East Coast to chase the dream. Now, our final pairing of round number 1, John Gordon, Bad Company, lining up with Tim Jones and Tailgater. And Tim Jones is a guy who could really threaten John Gordon's chances. You can see both of them taking their sweet time, getting those lanes kind of packed down. I have to tell you, there's plenty of moisture in this sand still from all the rain we got. It's actually creating a lot of bite here on the sand that normally on a dry day like this you wouldn't have. So it's making the racing here very fast. It's almost like driving on a sandy road rather than just straight beach sand, but it's going to start blowing away the more these trucks run on it. The starting line is definitely starting to get dug out. Jones taking a wild ride up the center there. He clips the, well, he more than clipped the center mount there. John Gordon doing what he had to do in Bad Company. Checking to make sure he still had a truck underneath of him. That was a hard-fought victory, though. He launched it over the first jump and actually gave up a little ground. Jones trying to gain on him. The truck seemed to walk around, though, coming into the second no man's land, and that cost him big time. Watch it again. Gordon leaping into the first no man's land, and that bounce right there could have cost him big time, and it could have rocketed Basil into the lead, depending on where he ended up in this bracket. But Gordon able to get the truck back down. Actually, both of them caught that center mount, but you can see Jones caught it quite a bit more. As we wrap up round number 1, we're not even close to done, though, here for round 4 of the 2024 edition of Monsters on the Beach. Stay with us, more to come from here at Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Hey, welcome to Wildman Adventures. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're gonna go down memory lane.
Welcome back to the Virginia Beach Oceanfront. Pungo Off-Road and Eastern Trucking Accessories present the 2024 edition and the 25th anniversary of Monsters on the Beach as we get ready to go into our semifinal round of Monster Truck Racing. The 4 trucks that did not get wins compete in a best trick competition to gain points. It used to be a one-hit wheelie competition, and it was wild, but it's been wild with this 3-hit best trick competition. A score of 14 for Frank Krimmel, who is the lone representative of the hometown team at show number 4. I did not mention it earlier, but Stone Crusher was actually supposed to be in this event. Dirt Crew took his place. They could not get Stone Crusher to line, but here we go. Jack Brown getting some massive hang time out off the shoreline there. Not disappointing, really wanting some more points before he ends his weekend. A score of 19 would take over this best trick competition. Corey Snyder loves getting those straight up and down sky wheelies, walking it across the crush cars nicely. Classic walking wheelie across those crush cars. Did a nice job, but didn't quite get what I think he wanted out of that. Would have loved a slap wheelie. There is enough bite to get one out here today, and he has been able to do them this weekend. Couldn't get one right there, though. A 14 for him would put him right next to Frank Krimmel. Jack Brown continued to lead. Now here's one of the wildest men in the business today, Tim Jones, a tailgater. What's left of the tailgater, if you didn't see the first race this weekend. Jones ended up upside down. Literally the first race of the first round, the first run of the weekend, ended with Tim Jones on his roof. He lost his steering, and there you see the George Carpenter Cup coming down the beach. That was Chris Parrish gingerly walking it down to where it will be presented. And off the front porch here at Monsters on the Beach, down where Scott Heaton and the crew are located this weekend. Dirt Crew lining up right now against teammate Darren Basil in Blockhead, and you gotta wonder what's going through Jerry Beck's mind right now. He knows that Basil is his only chance to get one of the DCT Power Sports trucks into the final round race and potentially have a shot at the George Carpenter Cup, but Beck is not one to give away a victory. Let's see how this goes down here in the semifinals. Waiting on green. Beck gave it a shot off the line, but he got out of shape there going to the second jump. Very evidently, I'm wondering if he had a problem with maybe a rear axle in that truck. He was having some issues with the drivetrain yesterday, and I'm wondering if they got everything fixed. But as long as he makes it back for freestyle, he's going to be a happy man at the end of this weekend. He always spends a little bit more money than I think he wants to when he comes out here, but it's all for the fans. There you see John Gordon leveling out the playing field, as it were, in Bad Company. Probably one of the best running trucks on the circuit today, and this thing gets thrashed worse than anything. He is not afraid to run it hard, but he is running against a very capable machine with a very capable, very gutsy driver. Preston Perez, the Bull Snot-sponsored Preston Perez at the wheel of the Warp Motorsports Toxic. This will be his last full season behind the wheel of that truck. He will go into first quarter as the driver for 2025, and that will be it for him. But he'd love to go out of here with a racing victory. Not gonna happen, but he gave Gordon all he wanted. Perez with one of the most impressive lunges in racing this weekend when he passed up Steve Sims on the end of a very competitive run, but he wasn't able to do it here. He had his foot to the floor, you could see that, but Gordon was simply too consistent and too fast down the track here as he will head toward a final round date with the man he needs to beat, Darren Basil and Blockhead. One more look at it. You can see much smoother, by the way, for Gordon, and that's what helped him. He got the front end on the ground that time with no rebound. Perez, on the other hand, did have some rebound going into that first no man's land, and it definitely cost him as he lost a lot of forward momentum. Kept a great deal of it, but the little bit he lost is about the length he was beaten by at the end, and that should tell you something about how quick he was coming on at the end of that run. A very impressive run for that gentleman out of Spokane, Washington. But this is the one that matters right now. There you see Darren Basil in Blockhead, part of the DCT Power Sports crew out of Lafayette, Indiana, doing some dry hops, trying to get that ramp to his liking, trying to smooth out that starting line. Remember, the tough trucks have also been running here today, and those little street tires rut that starting line out. Then the monster trucks go over it, rut it out a little more, and it doesn't exactly rut out evenly. It doesn't rut out the exact same length. So some of the trucks with a slightly shorter wheelbase are starting down in the holes, while some of the trucks with a slightly longer wheelbase end up starting off on the knolls and actually have to go down and then back up to make their starting line launch, and that can put you at a disadvantage. So both of those guys you just saw giving each other plenty of time there on the starting line. There's not really a starting line battle going on here because they want to win it at the finish line. They want to win it on the track, not at the starting line. Bad Company and Blockhead, this could be the race of the weekend. This is the most important race this weekend. Who will get the points out of racing? Boy, Basil was charging on him at the end. Gordon didn't get the lane he wanted, but he still manages to pull off a very impressive win over a very fast Darren Basil in Blockhead. Bad Company out of Hiram, Georgia, taking the victory and the points, the very important points, en route to the George Carpenter Cup. One more look at it. He charged off that starting line. Little bounce there in no man's land. Gave up a little bit to Basil, but he had a much better launch onto the second obstacle. And when he charged down that sort of slope there, he was on the ground. Basil was not. And that allowed Gordon to drive right around him for the victory. As we look at the points before we get to freestyle, here is what it looks like. Bad Company leading Blockhead by just a little bit. There's still enough room for Blockhead to overtake him. So the freestyle is going to be important for both of those guys. Of course, it's always important for these guys to put on a show for the fans, but they all want that George Carpenter Cup. Illuminator hanging in there in number 3. Maximus and Toxic now jumping up into the number 5 spot. Tailgater, Hook. There you see Stone Crusher, who is out of it for the day, unfortunately. So the obvious likelihood is that Dirt Crew will pass him up, and we're waiting to find out if we are going to see Virginia Giant back in action here today, because Cliff would love to come out here and make one more run for this crowd. As, again, beautiful views out there off the ocean side, by the way, looking out on the horizon. There's vessels going by all weekend long. Here's a guy, though, who would love to lay down a shot. And he is going to come to a premature stop. You saw the front sway bar break almost immediately. This truck has gotten beaten up all weekend long, and this is something that will often happen on Sunday afternoon. The simplest hits, the smallest hits will sometimes finally do the most damage as the attrition factor comes into play big time on Sunday afternoon. Here comes Jack Brown now on Maximus. Unfortunately, only a 3 for Frank Krimmel. He's going to take it back into the pits. I have a feeling, though, he's not done. Probably going to rip that front sway bar off and bring it back onto the track as Jack Brown looks to move into the top spot. But he's got problems, no rear-wheel drive, and there is no way he's going to get off of there with front-wheel drive only. He's going to keep trying, though. Look, trying to rock it off of there. But not the first time this weekend he has lost front or rear-wheel drive in this truck. So, unfortunately for Jack Brown, his score will come with those 3 hits he just made. A rough start to this freestyle, but hey, I said the attrition rate definitely finally, it kind of reaches its peak on Saturday night, and then anything they missed in frantic attempts to get these trucks back on the track for Sunday, and that's not saying anything about these crews. These guys work their tails off to get these trucks out here for these fans, but Sunday is when the stuff they didn't have time to catch will often start showing itself. That's not to say they didn't have time to catch this. They've been fighting this problem all weekend long. Jack Brown is just putting this thing through its paces, but hey, finding weak points in a chassis a little over a year old, there's still always going to be bugs to work out of it. Anytime you change the setup, change the shot combination, change the rear end combination, put new parts in it, they will find bugs as they go. This is a solid piece of equipment built by Eddie Micah, but unfortunately the Gremlins have been biting him all weekend long. A score of 7, so we're still in single digits with the first 2 competitors here, but he definitely turned this crowd on. He tore that bus up. He's going to make that jump very interesting for the rest of this freestyle competition. We're not done, though. When we come back, we continue with the final freestyles from here at Virginia Beach.
The world-famous C60 Cyclops. The infamous Dodge Carryall, unnamed and untamed. Get yourself a one-of-a-kind toy of a Mudbogger Trim Monster Truck at FreedomRacingMT.com.
Well, they finally have gotten Maximus down. This was moments ago, and almost at the expense of one of the loaders. Tipped it up on its nose. That should tell you how heavy these monster trucks really are. Coming out now, though, as we continue freestyle number 3 in the lineup. Preston Perez in Toxic, trying to gain a few positions from where he is right now. He'd love to get up underneath of the top 2 guys in this field. He's within striking distance of them mathematically, but it would have to be kind of a catastrophic weekend for those guys, and it's been a good weekend so far. It would have to be a near perfect weekend for Preston Perez, but this 11,000-pound Patrick chassis machine going to work right now, getting some nice hang time. Coming back at that bus stack over there. That pyramid cost him yesterday. That's the one that did all the damage. He kind of panic throttled, he said, coming down. Thought he was going to end up further over on the nose than he did. He did not, but unfortunately, by the time he realized that the damage was already done, that was perfect right there. Big air. This is a facility known for some big hang time, as 2-wheel moves are almost out of the question here. You get some slab wheelies, but it's really hard to get a stoppie on this sand, and it's hard to get a moonwalk or anything like that. So these guys rely on just some good old-fashioned high-speed big air launches, and Perez is showing him how it's done right now. He actually has a little bit of an advantage with the judges in a sense, because he's making up for the 2 runs in front of him that unfortunately did not go the way those drivers were hoping. I think Brown actually cleaned that jump up a little bit. He smashed that side down so much that there's a, look at that, there's nearly a perfect ramp there, almost as a quarter pipe. Got a little skip there in the front end right before he hit the crush cars. He was probably going to go for a sky wheel. He actually drove right on top of the cars when the front end came up, but he's hammering on it right here. They were having an issue earlier today with the engine getting hot. They've been battling heating cooling problems all weekend long. This thing was spitting coolant, but it looks like it's hanging in there right now. The shock package really getting worked out. Where is he, though? He disappears behind the big center mound. Preston Perez and Toxic going to bring it to a stop. This was an outstanding freestyle. It's going to be a tough one to beat. I won't say it's a winner right now. It remains to be seen, but he really did a great job. He filled the time. He had great use of track. He's going to meet the 3 criteria. It's got to be a 10 on filling the clock, because he did that, and it should be pretty high on use of track. Let's see what the final score is. 31 for Preston Perez. Bull Snot's own Preston Perez in the Warp Motorsports Toxic now. Tim Jones, tailgater. He's going to come out, try to one him up. We'll see what he's got. He has had his own gremlins all weekend long. He battled steering problems. He lost rear-wheel drive in one of the best trick competitions earlier this weekend. He has been working his tail off to keep the Gator on the track, but he's doing a nice job right now. Looks like I think his little buddy might have fallen out already. I don't see him up there in the cab with him. Fell out earlier this weekend. Look at that huge hang time coming down hard on the side of those wheels. That's something that you could not do years ago. You'd end up not only blowing out the planetary assemblies or breaking axle shafts, but you'd destroy the heims, you'd knock the rear ends out of center, and you'd have stuff hanging all out from underneath the truck. But these monster trucks now become so sturdy, so well built, so strong, they can take almost anything you throw at them, although he looks like he has a shot going away right now. Getting some huge air. You saw the truck twisted up a minute ago. I do believe he's blown a shock. One good thing, though, about coilovers is that they'll kind of force the ride height back to a neutral position. They'll force the shocks back to ride height or to a neutral position. So even if you lose a shock, you still got the spring there working. And it looks like that's what he's doing. Right now, he gets down in the ocean side there. He actually got down in the water. I told you, though, there was a ramp down there, and he just shelled the transmission. That is the end of that. You saw that smoke coming out. I thought that was water. That actually might have been transmission smoke when he got on the power there. Zings the motor as he turned around to bring it back, and that was the end of the tailgater. An awesome run for Tim Jones. You heard the cackle of that big horsepower. Landing hard in the sand again. A very, very impressive run for him. You can see, though, right here is where it became very evident that he had blown one of the rear shocks. You can see it happen. Not sure which one actually let go. I think it may have been actually the left rear getting a lot more dropout than it was supposed to. That, or he blew the right rear and it got hung up in there and it wouldn't let it drop out. But that truck's going to sit down there at the end of the track. You see Toxic hung up there near the starting line. That truck actually did overheat on its way off the track. And Jerry Beck getting ready to come out now and try to turn it up a notch in Dirt Crew. He is still battling a problem that he had in racing. He has a broken axle in this truck, and it is really negatively affecting the way this thing is driving, but he's going to try to get the most out of it. Still gets a slap wheelie with a broken rear axle. Trying to drag him down into the gully. Now, I talked about that at show number 1 when Tim Jones actually rolled down in there. The safety buffer that broken axle just tried to drag him down into. You don't want to get in there. It'd be very hard to get out if you actually stuff the truck down in that hole, but it's there to keep the trucks from being able to get to where the crowd is. There is the gully, then there are the barriers, then there's a runoff area, and then there is the elevated grandstands. And it has definitely come into play this weekend, doing its job, keeping the bystanders, keeping the crowd nice and safe, watching the wild action out here on the Mid-Atlantic coast as Jerry Beck putting this truck to work. Again, fighting through a broken truck. I'll be interested to see if he can better the 31 that Perez laid down. Ooh, he almost got in trouble right there. Wisely backed out of it. Years past, he may have hit that, but this truck is really not happy right now, and he didn't want to have to shovel it into the trailer. He's not done yet, though. It's all gone, and there he goes, down into the gully. Jerry Beck. Wouldn't be the first time he's left the truck down there in front of the barriers, but really letting it all hang out in spite of coming out here at less than 100%. But again, Sunday afternoon, not surprising. Only going to score a 24. I'd say that was fair. It was not a bad run by any means, but that broken truck, the broken rear axle really did rob him of some of that trademark Dirt Crew air. This guy, though, is going to come out swinging. Good start here for Corey Snyder, the Warp Motorsports Illuminator. Team based out of Bethesda, Maryland. Corey out of Pigtown, Maryland, ready to go here in freestyle. Hard hit, and he's just done some damage to the front end there. You saw the front tires were not turning when he got on the throttle and brought the front end back up. There was no pull there, so he's either broken a front diff or a front drive shaft. Well, no, oh yeah, he's broken the front drive shaft real clearly. You can see it banging around under there. And you can see he's got absolutely no drive off the front. Score of 11 for Corey Snyder in the Illuminator. And I can tell you, for those naysayers who think he should have kept going, I can guarantee you once that thing started coming out, they would have shut him down. Now, saw this guy earlier. His scores are in, but Sims and the crew did not want to let the hometown crowd down. This is just for the fans. Frank Grimmel coming back out in Hooked, the hometown Chevy Silverado. This machine has definitely made its mark here on the beach over the years. Some of the wildest rides, some of the biggest air we've ever seen. In fact, Chad Tingler almost hurt himself. Actually did give himself a little bit of a little sports injury when he was out here a couple of years ago getting some massive hang time. Flat landed the truck off the center mound, and Frank Grimmel is coming out here to give these hometown fans what they expect with Hooked. And it looks like the fire goes out right there. This team always runs these trucks so ragged by the end of this weekend. Their shop is like right down the street, so they don't have to go far to get the parts they need to keep them running. But at a certain point, you will exhaust everything the truck is willing to give you. And it looks like these machines might be finally starting to kind of fight them back a little bit and torturing some pretty old chassis out here. But that goes to show you the construction of these PEI machines all these years later, still out here doing what they do with the best new machines, the best new gen machines in this incredible industry. And Grimmel doing this again just for the Virginia Beach fans. Well, you can just hear the appreciation as he puts his foot in it, and he's not going to stop until it tells him it's done. Frank Grimmel and Hooked. You heard the power go down on him again right there. That's going to be the end of the road for the team from right here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. What a start to this run. We got to get right back to it. Here comes Cliff Fowl, another home state hero, Virginia Giant. He has had a rough showing here this weekend, but he hasn't been afraid of it. Put on one of the best freestyles we've ever seen Virginia Giant do on night number one, and that's where the damage came on the bed of that truck. But he also did some drivetrain damage. We showed you at the top of the program. They were replacing that front diff, that center section on the boardwalk. Spent all yesterday doing that. You can see Cliff not afraid of it, but he has just hurt the front end again. If he keeps going, he's going to be in big, big trouble. Actually, I think he's in big trouble right now. Oh, yeah, he has got major problems. Virginia Giant has just broken, I believe he just broke the right front champagne right there. Either broke the champagne or clean snapped the knuckle, but man, that was slated to be an awesome run. The big air hurting some of the older parts on this truck. There's still some stock parts underneath of this thing. Some original parts from when this truck debuted actually are still on this machine. The back half of this truck is actually fairly new as of 2022. Kevin Ricco had to completely replace the back half. He also has replaced the cage on this machine. It's kind of a half PEI, half REI, and there you see the damage. Not a common sight to see Virginia Giant looking like that, but it goes to show you Cliff is not afraid to drive it hard. Now comes the struggle of getting it back into the trailer on a very narrow boardwalk as the fight for the #1 spot in the George Carpenter Cup comes to the stage. It's that time. Bad Company and Blockhead, that's all that's left. John Gordon bringing Bad Company to the line to see what he has. He's going to set the stage for Darren Basil. Good flow back there on the ocean side as he just hits those obstacles one after another. They're really beaten down, but that is to his advantage. They're great ramps, and he goes big right there. This truck tends to take pretty much anything he throws at it. In fact, we saw him really test the limits of this chassis in North Carolina at the end of last year when he went about 40 feet in the air and landed on the back of the chassis. It really did a number on the rear end, but about all he broke was just like that. Look at that, John Gordon coming back from disaster. Playing on house money right now. If he can just finish this run with good momentum, he might have it in hand. He has damaged the rear steering. I was just complimenting how consistent, how strong, how solid this truck is. The Eddie Micah built, Gordon prepared bad company out of Hiram, Georgia, sponsored by Hardy Chevrolet, doing everything he can to put himself well above anything Basil's going to be able to throw at him. What does bad company have left? That was it right there. John Gordon in bad company. Giving this crowd what they came to see. The question is, will it be enough to stave off Darren Basil in blockhead? This move right here just blew the door open for him. Survived it. I was literally just complimenting him on having a truck that would be able to handle a move like that, withstand a move like that, a hit like that, and he didn't. Right there, and then that was neat. Rear steering cocked to one side, manages to put it back down on all four. You see the safety barriers going to work. Trying to overtake the 31 posted by Preston Perez and then tied by Tim Jones. We are waiting on the score. There you see on his roof. He was all right after that, and it's not going to take over the lead. Oh, my. I'm kind of surprised. Now, he didn't fill the clock completely. He was close. There you see Tim Jones getting Basil pumped up. We will see if Blockhead can take advantage of that. I'm actually surprised. I will tell you the way the scores broke down for these guys. Toxic momentum was a 5. Time use was a 10. Wow factor was a 6. Use of track was a 10. Bad company was an 8 for time, a 7 for momentum, a 6 for wow factor, and a 7 for use of track. Darren Basil definitely trying to make a statement here in Blockhead. This is for the Cup right now. This is a Cup run you're about to see. Not that he would not send this truck into low orbit for this crowd in Virginia Beach anyway, but let me tell you, that big trophy is definitely on his mind and trying to keep it in the DCT Power Sports house. What a launch! And to go around Tim Jones' truck right there, and he has done some damage. Oh yeah, Basil looks like he's got a broken left rear axle on that truck. Gonna handicap him a little bit. Let's see though, he really made a statement coming out. Can he keep living up to it even with the crippled truck? He'll hammer on it. Can't get it to point quite where he wants it to, so he's just standing in the throttle. Driving against the broken left rear, losing a little momentum right now. Needs to get a nearly perfect score. Wow, big hit there. I'm surprised. Darren Basil going after a 28, trying to gain 6 or so points on top of John Gordon. Is he going to be able to do that? It's a very slim margin. You know, Gordon had to be standing back there biting his nails. That was just absolutely wild right there. 31, another 31, but it's not going to be enough. John Gordon is your overall champion and will take the George Carpenter Cup here at the 25th anniversary of Monsters on the Beach.
You know, when Mason went down out there, you have to know him right at that point that he had a really good shot at it. Not the way you want to win it, but a win's a win. Man, you know, I don't know what either. I know Mason wasn't either. We come here to put on a show for all these awesome fans that spend their money to come support us. You know, we got out of it. We got a lot of good memories of the tore up truck. So we're going to go home and we're going to fix something. We're going to see you guys again someday. We're glad to be here. It's always fun running with great people, like all those trucks in the back. But man, to come into Sunday tied, Basil, he's a tough competitor. We've been doing this a long time. I remember watching him while I was crewing. So hats off to you, man. It's been fun. We enjoyed it. Virginia Beach, y'all come buy some merch. We got to fix these trucks. And we got to sign this stuff for y'all. I couldn't do it without my crew, but they're too shy to come out here. They're in the back. So Avery, Matt, my hat's off to you. Dustin, thanks for giving me a piece of equipment to do this with. Virginia Beach, we love you guys. We'll present to us with our George Carpenter Cup, the 25th annual.
Well, that is going to make that ride home to Hiram, Georgia, that much sweeter for John Gordon. He hasn't been here in a while. He returns and reclaims a cup that he once had and does it on the 25th anniversary of Monsters on the Beach. There you see your winner, John Gordon. Toxic lands in the number 3 spot after an excellent performance by Preston Perez, Tailgater, and Illuminator, keeping the Warp Motorsports crew in the top half of the field there as he landed in the number 5 spot. Maximus and Dirt Crew having a rough day here, but not ending up too bad. Jerry Beck didn't finish on the bottom of this thing he thought he was going to before the weekend was up. Hooked, Stone Crusher, and Virginia Giant probably had the roughest go of it here in terms of trying to gain points. And now the big cleanup starts, shoveling stuff into the trailer, although most of these trucks are going to go out of here in one piece. Cliff Vowell's going to have a lot of work to do on the old Virginia Giant. Thanks for joining us for an awesome weekend of action from here at Monsters on the Beach. We got a lot more coverage from 2024 to bring it here at Back Channel Productions. We will see you next time.
This Back Channel Productions presentation has been brought to you by Gemini Associates. Whether you live upstairs, downstairs, or anywhere in general, we are here to serve.